Hey everyone, welcome to Coda Digital's webinar on Is Your Practice's Marketing Up to Par? Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk through your practice's marketing with you to help evaluate where you stand today and then help you identify your weakest areas to work on in 2021. So in 2020, we've seen this massive shift in the way patients choose physicians. Referrals are way down and patients are going direct to their provider. And patients, even those that are 65 plus or use Medicare, they've been forced to kind of adapt to the digital world. And so our clients who were receiving, a couple or even just a handful of online appointments, they're receiving 30, 40, 50% more online appointments than they were previously, almost to where online appointments outweigh their phone appointments. And that's really good news for practices that are able to adapt and market digitally, especially if you're able to get ahead of the competition. But turns out digital marketing is a huge arena and it's very easy to let things fall through the cracks and manage this and manage that. And one person can't do it all. So today, I'm going to show you how we assess practices internally to determine their weak points and ultimately form a strategy around that. So by the end of this, you should have a really good idea of where you're struggling most so that as you're forming your strategy for 2021 and looking at where you want to grow, you know what to prioritize. So we're going to go over your website, your reputation, your social media, your SEO, paid advertising, and then general strategy. And as I mentioned before, or at least I think I did, maybe I didn't, we developed a tool to be used with this webinar. So at the top, there's that link, codadigital.com/tools/marketing assessment. So my team's going to link that in chat, but please use that along with the webinar. It's totally designed to be used at the same time, and you'll see that throughout the webinar. But first, a little bit about me. So who am I? I am Austin Herwagen, and I'll be your host. I'm the founder of Coda Digital, and at Coda Digital, we help medical practices get more patients through digital marketing. And throughout the last 5 years, we've helped dozens and dozens of physicians that have already seen some success, but we help them achieve an entirely new level of success. And I'm proud to say that we've brought tens of millions of dollars in annual revenue to them. And it's, I really can't talk enough about how rewarding it is seeing a practice change from kind of that bare bones, never knowing where their next patient's going to be to stable, controlled marketing and hopefully thinking towards the future. Of course, especially relevant in COVID. So that's me. I don't want to forget also, I'm not alone today. Part of my team is here with me in chat and in the QA section. So if you have any questions, please feel free to either type in chat or click on that QA button that Zoom has on the toolbar, and they'll make sure you get answered. But now let's jump right into the assessment. So if you're on that page and you enter your name and email, you'll get this first question. How modern and professional does your website look? This is a big deal because your website is your foundation of all of your digital marketing. Visitors get the first impression of your website in 50 milliseconds. So you only have an instant to make that impact. And so think back to the way you use the web. When you're scrolling through a site and you immediately get on a site, do you make that first impression right away? Not even their words, just their design? You probably do. And for many patients, that's their only exposure to you, right? They don't know your credentials. They don't know how good your waiting room looks like. They don't know your patient outcomes. They just know your website. And so if you're going to be doing any digital marketing, your website needs to be awesome, or else you're just kind of throwing money down a pit and hoping that it's as efficient as possible. So let's take a look at your own website and try to give it an objective rating from far below average to far above average. Now, I know that you're not a design professional and this can be hard. So let's look at some examples. I did a quick search for ENTs in the area and I got 3 different websites. So this first is from Frisco Family ENT, and they're probably amazing at what they do, but their website is definitely losing them tens, if not hundreds of patients a month. And really the big red flags for me is there's a lot of text and it's very basic text. None of it is stylized. It doesn't really fit with a theme. I mean, even their logo is literally just words. There's a lot of clashing colors. There's, giant red, yellow. It basically does not welcome me as a patient whatsoever. And if you'll notice, there's no visuals of any sort. There's a YouTube video there for Doxy Me, but there's no visuals for Frisco Family ENT at all. And it really doesn't allow the patient to get any trust. Would you feel comfortable going to a website that looks like this? It doesn't really look like they're on the cutting edge, even though they might be. And these doctors and physicians, they're probably very good at what they do, but their website doesn't reflect it. And so I would call this website far below average. Now we'll look at kind of the middle of the road. This is about an average website. This is in the same area, ENT Techs, and they have images, but there's a lot of images and they're different angles, and it really kind of looks a bit cluttered, right? With so many images and so much text and the text over the image there, it's kind of hard to tell what to read and where to go next on the website. This website probably gets the job done, but it doesn't convince anyone on the fence. They're not winning any awards based on this website. And if they're comparing you between a competitor, hopefully your website is better than theirs. And then finally, we come to Collin County ENT. And as a disclaimer, this practice is a client of ours, but hopefully you see an immediate difference, right? It's organized, there's appropriate white space, there's a clear plan of action. You immediately see the feel like yourself again, and then move down to the make an appointment. And obviously you can scroll down the page and learn more. All of the colors match. There's branding. If you look at the image there of that woman, the watercolor background kind of makes you feel homey and like it was custom rather than a stark box or anything like that. And so that fits with Collin County's family branding. And all three of these are in the same competitive market. And so if you were a patient in this area and you opened up all three sites and you wanted to pick the best, which one would you go with, or which one would you be more likely to go with? And that's really what you need to ask yourself about your website and your competitors. So go ahead and rank your website on that assessment. Next, does your website's headline speak to the immediate benefit of your practice? And what I mean here is, I'm going to use some examples again. So I searched in Dallas for pediatricians and got 3 more examples. This site, Clinical Pediatric Associates, there's no header whatsoever. This is real. This is their real site. It's not zoomed in or anything like that. There are no words. You have to scroll almost your entire screen before you get to any words at all. So you're just scrolling past this picture of their waiting room. Keep in mind, we're in this digital age where people are used to Uber. They don't want to wait 20 minutes for their food, and they really need instant reassurance when they come to your website that they aren't wasting their time. And so this is one of the critical errors that we see, is that people don't have any heading whatsoever. About middle of the road again, there's this site, Pediatric Associates of Dallas. And again, this is what I would consider average. And so they have this heading that says, taking care of kids is what we do. And they're pediatrics, and that's very true. But I'm not sure that really resonates with patients, right? That's what I would call more of a feature. So they're simply describing just what they do. But marketing is all about talking about your patients. It's not about talking about you. And so as we move to this next site, Get Wells, you can see what they immediately do better. So Get Wells, they specialize in personalized pediatrics. And so they're kind of that special case pediatrics. And their heading is extraordinary care for extraordinary kids. that immediately speaks to their target audience. That target audience with extraordinary kids automatically know that, wow, these guys are the specialists. They are exactly what I'm looking for. And then they follow that up below it with what they do. And so they expand on ADHD, anxiety, autism, autoimmune disease. But right away, patients can say, yes, I'm in the right place. And then they say, okay, how do I learn more? Or how do I make an appointment? And so going back to the assessment, does your website immediately resonate with your target patients? Or is it just there because you needed to come up with something? This isn't easy to do. This Get Wells, I said that I was finding examples in the Dallas area. I could not find a pediatrician in the Dallas area that I liked their header of. So this is a very difficult thing to do. And honestly, professionals are used to doing it day in, day out. And Coda Digital or another agency can help you with that. When a patient gets to your website, they feel you're professional, they feel you're going to solve their problem and you resonate with them, but then they look to make an appointment. How many clicks does it take for them to make that happen? How hard is it? You want it to be as easy as possible. As soon as they make that decision, if we could telepathically, I would have that appointment booked. But what we're looking for is as few clicks as possible. So let's look at this site as an example. Right away, this page encourages them to make an appointment, right? You have this button here, you have the make an appointment in the top header, and then you also have a phone number. At any time, the patients can click this, and it's also further on down the page too. So then you hit that one click and you get to this screen. You fill out the information and there's one more click. So 2 clicks total. Now, the worst thing I see here is practices that have no way to make an appointment online. 2 clicks is really good. 3 clicks is also pretty good. Even if you have 5 clicks, that's way better than not having a way to make an appointment online. So your patients might be at work. They might be on the bus. They might be in line at the grocery store. They don't have the time, the desire to sit on the phone to make an appointment. They just want to do it on their phone right there while they're thinking about it. And maybe if they're not thinking about it, they go and find your competitor later. So while they're on your site, make it easy for them to make an appointment. Psychologists that require you to call for an appointment, that's crazy to me. A depressed person has a hard time getting out of bed, so why do we expect them to want to talk to someone on the phone to make an appointment? And the last thing about the website, we want to make it as easy as possible. So how many fields does a patient need to fill out for an appointment? Looking at Collin County again as an example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fields to fill out. Honestly, that's a little higher than I would like. They have to fill in their name, their email, their phone, what they're looking for, and then a message, and then also a day and time. Now, I understand the logistical reasons of all of this, but if we had total control, really be critical. Do you need everything that's there? For Collin County, do you really need that message there? Every single question, every single field that you ask here will lose you new patients. And I promise you, it will lose you new patients every time you add a field. I know you need insurance information. I know you need patient history, but save that for later. Do that after they've already scheduled the appointment, after they've already committed to you. You want to have your intake process as seamless as possible, at least up until they can't choose a competitor. So moving from the website, and again, I apologize for spending so much time on the website, but it is just so important when you're talking about digital marketing. Let's talk about reputation. So consider when you last went to a new restaurant. That might have been 6 months ago, right? With COVID, but you probably looked on Google and you looked at the review scores. And if a restaurant had less than a 4.0, you probably didn't even consider it. Now consider that people aren't looking for restaurants, they're looking for their health, or even better, their children's health, right? So they're going to be a lot more critical of a physician than you would at the restaurants. So first off, let's search your reviews and see what is your practice's Google review score. what comes up? We're ultimately looking for a 4.8 or higher. 4.5 or higher is good. 4.6, 4.7, that's all great. But we want to at least hit a 4.8, and that can usually guarantee that you're one of the highest, if not the highest, in your area. And the number of reviews is also important. If you have 2 5-star reviews, someone with 109 4.8 reviews, like Dr. Gabriel here, he's probably going to outrank you, and people are going to have more trust in him. So we want as many reviews as possible for credibility. And it also lessens the impact of one bad review, right? So if someone, as you know, their insurance doesn't reimburse as much as they thought they would, and they go leave a nasty review, that's not going to hurt you as much as it otherwise would. But your competitors matter too. So if you have 2 competitors that have a 4.9, 4.8 really isn't good enough. So I'll repeat this probably a few times, but I really want to drive this home. No one wants to see the number 2 doctor. That just doesn't happen. Why would I see the number 2 doctor when I can go and see the number 1? Other important review sites other than Google, Healthgrades is also a very important review site. You can see the same doctor here. He has a 4.9 on Healthgrades. So I would go search yourself real quick, see what you have on Healthgrades, and then also on Vitals. Google, Vitals, and Healthgrades are all very important, the most important, in fact, for individual practitioners. Our team is really able to make a quick impact on reviews. So, as long as you don't have 100 negative reviews, it's very likely that we can get you to a 4.5 in just a couple of months and be well on our way to that 4.8 status that really makes you number 1. So if you're looking at reviews and you're like, oh, I have so much to go, with the proper strategy and execution like Coda Digital can provide, that's no problem. We'll make short work of it, and you will Google yourself and be happy. All right, so moving to social media. Patients have more time for Facebook and Instagram than ever, right? They're not going out that much. They're always on their phones. And hopefully your past patients are connected with you on Facebook. And so a good social strategy will remind them that you exist. So even if you've solved their problem and you fixed their knee and they don't need knee surgery anymore, hopefully they remember you for family members and friends, right? Social media is one of the ways that we keep that going, and we call that top of mind awareness. Did they see your name recently enough to remember you just at the drop of a hat? And so it's important to be a part of their feed. And to do that, you need to post regularly. So go look at your Facebook and go look at your Instagram. When's the last time you posted? You can see here's one of our clients. This is Orthopedic Associates. And look here. So we posted 15 minutes ago when I grabbed these screenshots. Yesterday, another one yesterday, November 30th, November 28th, and then November 27th. So that's 6 posts in, 4 days? So that is a lot, and that takes work. But we've experimented a lot on how often to post, and does it get annoying if you post too much? We found that the optimum number is 5 to 7 times per week. But the trick is, it can't be annoying content, right? It needs to be valuable. So you can see here we're posting blog articles, we're posting research, we're posting reviews about the doctor. It can't be every time, come see us, we're the best orthopedic, or inspirational quotes with mountains or forest paths in the background. It really needs to be real content that people find useful. And to judge that, social media has a metric called engagement. And so now I ask you to assess, how many people engage with each social post, right? So how many people find your post interesting enough to like or comment or share? They're publicly standing behind your content. And so you'll be able to find this for your page at the bottom here of each post. And so every practice's patients are are going to be different, right? So what works with orthopedic associates in Flower Mound probably won't work as well for an orthopedic practice in San Diego. So it's important to not just have cookie cutter content, but design it around your audience, right? And then see what your audience finds useful and then do more of that, right? See what does well, see what doesn't do well, and obviously make adjustments. For our client, Orthopedic Associates in Flower Mound, you can see that the post yesterday has 2 engagements. The other post yesterday has 5. We got 8 likes and a share on the other one. This one had 15 likes and a share. This one had some comments. So they have a rabid community, and all of these people are total fans of Orthopedic Associates. So if you run into them and you say, oh, my knee hurts, or I'm having elbow pain, all of these people that like this content or share or comment, they're going to immediately say, oh yeah, you know what? Orthopedic Associates, I love them. They're great. And social media is a great way to fuel your word of mouth. And then finally, I ask you, how quickly do you respond to social media messages and comments? How would you feel if you called a business, left a voicemail, and you didn't get a call back for a week? You probably wouldn't feel very important to them, and you probably wouldn't go there as a patient. And so we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, because not only do you lose out on that patient, but you probably lose out on their circle of friends too, because they're going to tell them what happened. And to be honest, it's not uncommon that a practice manager or administrator will be given the duty to keep up with the Facebook page. I see it time and time again on all of our new clients. Turns out it's not easy. These people already have a lot on their plate. So it might go okay for a month or two, but look back to those last 3 questions that you answered. And if you're not really seeing the results, it's probably time to get outside help. Not only does that allow you to start getting actual results, but it also frees up that practice manager for what they really need to be doing, which is probably managing staff or helping the front desk or making sure the patient experience is better. Hopefully you're not doing this yourself, but I'm sure you're far past that. All right, and now we come to Google rankings. And for most practices, the most profitable way to get new patients is through Google Maps and Google search results. And we call Google search results organic. And so you'll hear me say that. So go ahead and search your specialty and city in Google. So let's say I'm an orthopedic in New York. Well, this page is going to pop up, and this section here is the map results. And this is determined by a lot of things, but primarily in how SEO optimized your website is. And by default, it only shows the top 3 here. And I'll be crystal clear here. If a patient is looking at this map result and they are not ever clicking view all, right? They're looking at this and finding the one that they think is the best. So if you're not in the top 3 here in this map result, you're functionally invisible to that patient that uses the map results. So for this one, for map results, is very important to be in the top 3. Paramount, I would say. And so where do you rank in those map results? Do you see yourself? Do you not? Now that we have an idea of that biggest search term, let's try something a little bit easier to rank for. Let's use your top subspecialty. So for an orthopedic, I might say knee surgeon, New York. So go ahead and search yourself and see where you end up. I will wait. All right, so where did you end up? Were you in the top 3, top 10 maybe if you click view all? Again, if you weren't in the top 3, that's a pretty big problem, and you should look out. But the map results only tell half the story. There are search results below the map. And again, those are organic search is what we call them. So if I search, you'll see those organic searches at the bottom. And you can see that here, and instead of the top 3 like maps, and if you search your own terms, you'll see this too, this section shows 10 links. And this is primarily, again, influenced by SEO optimization, but Google takes other factors into account like website design, how your site looks on mobile, how quickly your page loads. A great healthcare marketing agency like Coda will be able to help you out with all that. And so you shouldn't need to worry about the specifics. But where do you rank for that organic result for your main specialty? And then let's look at your subspecialty and where do you stand there? And as you're looking at all of this, keep in mind that people are trained to think that the best company, the best business is number one in Google, and the second best is number two. And so they think that the best physicians are number one in Google. And so for that reason, number one always takes the lion's share and it makes you trustworthy. And so not only does that trust get you more appointments, but patients come into your appointments with better expectations, right? So how many times have you had a patient that was determined to be difficult? Probably pretty frequently. And I talk to my clients every month, and it's fun to see them transition from starting with us to, I mean, even 6 months, 9 months out. Whenever they start to get towards the top of the search engine and they have great reviews and they have a great website, they actually tell me how, patients are easier to deal with. It can change a patient's frame of mind before they even get in the door. So let's switch gears from SEO and organic search to paid advertising. You hear about Google ads and Facebook ads a lot, but paid advertising is a fantastic way to get an immediate influx of new patients. It provides some diversification, so you're not just hinged on organic results or an algorithm. So how many new patients are you getting each month through paid advertising? And these ads at the top, that is where that paid advertising is on the Google results. Google is essentially running an auction each time someone searches. So the winner gets to be that first place and so on. And there's a lot to that, but that's really the gist. So you pay every time someone clicks on your ad, but you're going to show above the map results and above the organic results. And so even if you are first in organic results, a percentage of people are never going to look past the ads. And that's especially true with the older age patients. If you're in Medicare or the 65 plus bracket, a lot of those people click on ads. So although most of our clients are number one on the organic results, we still spend money on Google ads. So not only does this ensure that the patient sees their practice, but it also adds a lot of implicit trust because they see the ad of their practice and they scroll down on their phone and they see that practice again, and then they scroll down and then they see it again in the map results. And so they say, wow, I see this practice name all over the page. They must be really good. I want to go to them. The problem with organic rankings is that they can take close to a year of investing to really materialize into a steady flow of patients. But paid advertising is instant. You can run ads tomorrow and get a patient tomorrow. The real secret strategy is to start paid advertising now, make some profit, fill up those open appointment slots, and then with your profit, invest in longer term marketing like SEO and make even greater margin and greater profit. So if you do advertise with Google Ads right now, or you have an agency working with you, you should be able to find this in your report or inside Google Ads with some number crunching. But how much are you spending per patient to get an appointment? Looking at the industry as a whole, healthcare practices spend about $77 per appointment. And that's from plastic surgeons to family doctors. Now, $77 isn't too bad. So you can kind of get a feel for how you're doing there. And if you spend $1,000, that gives you 12 new patients a month, 12 new ones that you wouldn't have had otherwise. However, a really good agency like Coda Digital is able to bring that even lower. Because after all, who wants to be average, right? And so we're able to bring that much lower than average. So we did a study at the end of September, and so this is after COVID. And our clients, on average, spent $29 per patient appointment. So if you're spending $1,000 per month, that's the difference between 12 new patients that month and 34 new patients that month. It's a huge savings, and you're really leaving a lot of money on the table by not bringing that cost lower. Okay, so a patient came in, you had a great experience and left, and then they left your office. Now what? Well, how do you re-engage them? If they come in every year for a checkup, what are you doing to bring them back? If they come in every year for a checkup and then don't come back, how do you get them back? And then let's say, the procedure is done and you fix their knee and they don't need to come in again. How are you staying top of mind so that they send their friends and family to you? And usually the answer to all of this is email. So how often do you send your patients email, and how useful is it? At Coda, we do all sorts of re-engagement campaigns, and this doesn't have to be just email or newsletters. This can be social media. This can be like paid retargeting and Google Ads. But you want to create not just happy patients, but evangelical patients. You want patients that can't stop thinking about you and can't stop talking about you because they just love all the content you put out. And that's something that Coda Digital helps with. We love to have people love to talk about you. Now moving to general strategy, I want to talk about how diversified your patient acquisition is. And this is one of the weaknesses that I see with a lot of practices that come to us. They get 95% of their patients from referrals. So what happens if those doctors retire? Or what happens if they go out of business? What happens if they get acquired by a hospital group and can only refer to that group? That's a really big deal, and it opens you up to a lot of risk. So how many sources of new patients do you have that bring in 5% or more? And the goal here is to see at least 5 channels, 5 different sources of patients that generate at least 5%. And so you can see here in that graphic, for this client, 52% of them come from organic search, 26% of them come from paid search, 18% are direct. So they get a business card or referral, and they know the domain name and they know the website. And then around 3% on this is social. And so this provides massive stability for your practice as insurance changes, competitors come into the market, and events like COVID happens, right? So if a large group comes in and starts spending $1 million a month, you do lose out on that paid advertising, right? Because they just spent a lot more than you, and you were always third. But you know what? You were diverse enough to where you didn't lose your entire income, and you're able to bounce back and find ways to beat that large competitor. By having multiple knobs and levers, a marketing team can make more of an impact. So you're not just sitting there twiddling your thumbs, waiting for the referral patients to come in. You go to them. And that's a really big deal, and why we always prefer diversification over anything else. Okay, now the hard-hitting questions. I hope everyone's ready. How many new patients are you seeing compared to last year? We've had a rough year. Are you seeing less than 60%? Are you seeing between 60 and 80%? Maybe you're just down 20%. Or are you seeing more? Answer this honestly with a look back to the same time period. So we are in November right now. Well, we're in December now. We're in December. So look back to last December. How are you doing now, and how are you doing then? And how much do you want your practice to grow in the next year? Again, COVID was rough for everyone, and demand is way down across the board. There are a lot of industries where demand is 15% down, 25% down, and even further. So over the next year, if we talk, December next year, where do you want your business to be? Do you want it to be 10% over this, 20% over your average, more than 20%? And if you want those numbers to change, what are you going to change, Or are you just going to wait and see what happens and kind of hope that the patients come to you? Let everyone else evolve around you. Or are you going to hit the market first and make sure that you capitalize on this open space that's in the market and everyone's transitioning to digital? How are you going to transition first? I'm happy to say that our clients are busier than last year. And that sounds really good. And that also sounds like one of the things that I would say, that sounds cherry picked. There's no way. Well, here's another stat for you. Our bottom performing practice is at 94% of their average new patient volume. They're just 6% down. So only you can determine if you want to make a change or if it's time. But I can tell you that when you do, my team at Coda Digital can make a big impact. Nearing the end of the assessment, how close are you to maximum capacity? If you're at 80% and you go up to 100%, how much more do you have to spend on expenses? Probably not a whole lot. You probably have all your staff there and you have the room. So those extra patients, they're even more profitable than average. The goal is maximum efficiency, which is 100% capacity. So how much room do you have to grow if you were to invest in marketing? And what would that mean for a dollar standpoint compared to expenses? And then finally, how in tune is your marketing agency to your goals? And specifically your goals, right? Because when any agency works with clients, there's a lot of data. There's website visits, there's clicks, there's brand recognition, but your marketing agency should be working towards your goals, not necessarily theirs. So are they constantly talking about, oh, we got more clicks, oh, we got more website visits? Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is patient appointments. And even still, some of our clients don't just want more appointments. They want more profitable appointments of some specific procedure. So your marketing agency should feel like an extension of your in-house team. They should go after what you want, whether that be more patients, more profitable patients, maybe you're entering a new market. But your agency should drive your business in the direction that you want to drive it, not in the direction that they want to drive it. And honestly, that's not easy to find, but I bet I might know a few people if you reached out. So now click through and we'll give you a score based on the questions that you answered. And how well did you score? If you're at an 18 plus, you have a pretty strong foundation and you probably need to clean up around the edges and tweak some things and start digging the moat to prevent competition from coming in, but you're doing okay. If you're 12 to 17, you have the start of a successful strategy and you're probably big enough to have started that process, but you really need to quickly improve on your weak points. Before demand spikes up again to over 100%, you need to fill in those gaps so that one, you're resilient to competitors, but also two, so that you capture all of that demand. And then if you're under 12, look, your digital marketing isn't looking so hot. But I talk to people almost every day in your shoes. And the good news is that if you are successful right now, despite this score of under 12, you're going to be unstoppable with the proper strategy and execution. And it's hard to prioritize when everything is on fire and you're in the red there. And there's a certain way to scale out of that without breaking the bank. So I'm happy to talk about that if you want more insight. I'm always happy to give you a more detailed assessment and kind of walk through that process with you. The truth is, digital marketing for healthcare is a complex beast, but it's here to stay even after a vaccine. This is a once in a decade opportunity to adapt quicker than your competition. So if you're looking to grow in 2021, Coda Digital is here to help. Instead of waiting for patients to come to you, let's go to them, right? So from reviews to social media to SEO to your website, we handle the entire digital experience so that you can focus on what you want to focus on. which hopefully is seeing patients, but maybe it's traveling, maybe it's your family. We just want you to have the freedom to have more time and focus on what you want to focus on. We're also month to month, and we're only month to month. You don't have to sign a long-term contract. You just give us, 30 days notice and you can be out. We're really good at what we do. I don't understand the whole 1-year agreement thing, because if we do great work, you'll stay. And funny enough, it turns out we do great work. So that's not an issue. 2021 is coming fast. We have 1 month left. We only have 2 more spots for new clients. So don't wait too long. Do reach out. I hope you enjoyed this webinar. I hope the assessment cleared up some of your weak points and gave you some insights into what you should focus on towards the beginning of 2021. Before I take questions, if you liked this webinar, we had a webinar a few weeks ago on marketing spend, and I went over industry data for how much to spend on marketing, and then we talked about how much to spend on advertising. So you can find this on our website at codeddigital.com. If you click on resources and then ad spend 101, and you'll find that in the top navigation bar. Also, we're going to be holding another webinar in 2 weeks. So I would love to see you there. And I think Claire is going to put that in chat for you to register now if you want. I'm sure you'll also get an email about it, but we would love to see you there, and hopefully it generates even more ideas for the coming year. But thank you for spending this time. It was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but I think there was some valuable information in there, and I am happy to take any questions that you might have.